All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to day 2. This has been a great show, as it always is. This is one of my favorite events of the year. We have a great lineup of panelists here. I'll introduce myself briefly. I am a technology consultant and the editor of the Digital Media Zone, and that's all you need to know about me. I'm just going to pass to the guys to my left, and we'll do quick 30-second introductions. Ready? Go. Let's start with Iri.
Hi, I'm Iri Zohar, founder and CEO at FreshUp. And we partner with appliance and device manufacturers to bring supermarkets and grocery shopping into kitchens of consumers. So think of you being a consumer and your pasta is running out. You can scan the barcode of the pasta. You can use voice. You can use a touch screen to put pasta right into your shopping cart, and you're not going to forget to buy it. This does not replace the smartphone. It augments the smartphone. It's an additional touch point, accessing the same shopping cart that you access via your smartphone or your computer.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben Richardson. I lead business development in the US for Amazon's Dash replenishment service, or what we call DRS. It's a core part of Amazon's smart home vision, and it's focused on replenishment. So it's essentially a set of freely made APIs that we expose to device manufacturers to integrate into their cloud and devices so that those devices can track and measure how much of the supply is being consumed and automatically replenish those supplies through Amazon.
So if you don't already know that, remember DRS. I'm sure we're going to hear that more today.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Sean Stover. I'm the Vice President of Smart Home Solutions at GE Appliances, so obviously a major appliance manufacturer. And my team focuses across all the platforms that we have, product lines, to really drive their connected strategy and make sure that we stay on point with what we're trying to do, both internally to our company as well as with a lot of our partnerships that are out there with a lot of the different people inside of our ecosystem. So we really try and make sure that that connects, and we have a nice cohesive strategy across those pieces. My team also brings forth products that really look at connectivity as a core of what they have available. So just like gas, water, and electric are core to most major appliances, we look at adding connectivity to that to really drive the appliances and change the approach that we have for these products to really create solutions versus just a standalone product.
So this morning, we're going to talk about the kitchen as a commerce opportunity. And I apologize in advance, but I can't resist the groan-worthy pun in my first question. We'll get to specifics later, but what makes the kitchen so ripe an opportunity for commerce, right? Why is this a good idea to begin with? And I'll start with you, Iri.
Thank you. So I think the kitchen is actually totally ripe and ready for commerce. I think when you think about commerce, you want to make a differentiation between manual and automatic commerce. We're more into the manual type commerce, where the user has the great user experience where you can access and do commerce from the kitchen. I think in that aspect, the timing and the ripeness is very interesting. I think that initially the kitchen UI, which was invented by Amazon, was based on voice only. If you think about the early Alexas and the Amazon and the Google Home, it was voice only UI, which I think was not ripe. It wasn't good enough because when you want to shop groceries, you want to have choice. I think a serial type user interface is not good enough. But now, with the explosion of screens in kitchens, I think the time is awesome. I think you can offer really good user experience, and the screens are everywhere. I mean, starting from the Echo Show, the Google with screens, the third-party companies like Lenovo, JBL, Sony, Facebook just announced they're coming with a screen, and most of those devices are placed in the kitchen. And then the appliances, there are so many examples. GE did an awesome job. You can see them in the booth there. And if you can just walk down the exhibition, you see so many devices, appliances now having a screen on them, and that's awesome for grocery shopping.
All right, let's go to you, Ben.
I mean, I think simply the kitchen is the hub in the home, right? It's where people convene and do important things like eat together and talk, share memories, and so forth. And because of that, we've put a lot of focus in the kitchen, in addition to the commerce opportunity that's behind all of the central hub usage. And I mean, if you just look at a refrigerator, the number of items in a refrigerator is probably at any given time somewhere between 50 and 70 items when you think about all the condiments that are included. Sean probably knows how many times a day the refrigerator is actually opened, but the pantry is similar in that sense, probably several hundred items, and so there is a natural ability for commerce to happen, because when you look at a lot of those items, as you probably all have in your kitchens, a lot of those are items that you buy on a day in and day out basis. And so it's typically not a lot of fun to buy a lot of those items over and over and over again and have to expend your time and energy toward that. So I think we're ripe for commerce in that sense, because technology is now to the point where we can replenish a lot of those things in the kitchen that you need on a daily basis. And to have a lot of those transactions effectively disappear. So if you can imagine a world in the kitchen where shopping for some products, even some services, disappears. That's ultimately, I think, where we see the smart home and the smart kitchen converging.
Okay, Sean?
Yeah, definitely. We look at the kitchen as the heart of the home, right? There's a lot of activity, as Ben pointed out, a lot of gathering, eating, homework's done. There's just a lot of, general time spent in this area. There's also, if you think about it, there's a ton of money that goes through there too. I mean, on a weekly basis of all the groceries and staples that you would buy. And I think if you look at it, there's a lot of things beyond food, which is normally where we go with. I mean, I have a computer in my kitchen, and I order pencils and erasers and paper and shampoo and all the other things that I would need in my home are very easy for me to do from an online basis. So I think it's the matter of, I think what Ben was saying, or to take it in a different direction, is if you can make it seamless, right, and you can make it relevant, then there's opportunities to take things away and just remove that mind share of, hey, I've got to go do this. It's automatic. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities that are just coming to be available now. And if you look at the technology that's just around this conference center and the other things that you see around the world, I think we're ripe for an explosion of that seamlessness in the future. So.
And I want to thank you all for continuing to take my pun in your explanations there. Now, you all hinted at this, but you didn't explicitly say this, but I think that also the logistics of the kitchen just makes sense in that it is often the port of entry, the point of consumption, and in many cases, the point of exit of so much product in your home. And so that too kind of just makes it feel natural. It makes it feel like it's the right place to tackle this. So let's talk about specific. Let's talk about what each of your organizations is doing to take advantage of this. Some of the things that you're doing, maybe some are obvious, but I'm also really interested in discovering some of the less obvious use cases that you're contemplating or executing on now. And I'll start with you, Sean.
Yeah, great. I'll go with the obvious. So we build a lot of sensors into our products to be able to monitor consumption of renewables that people put in there. So laundry detergent, dishwasher detergent, things like that. So, those are the obvious places we do. We are a DRS partner today, so we offer that to our owners as an option for coming onto our platform. That just, again, takes, 4 minutes out of their day from having going to order something and takes that mind share and frees it up to go do something that they want to do and want to spend their time on. So those are the obvious ones. I think some of the less obvious things, and I think that will evolve over time, is when you look at the platform like that we've developed with U+ Connect, it allows us to get all the way down deep into the firmware of the product, so we can basically alter what a product does 2 years down the road. And so that offers up some interesting, not only feature opportunities, but software upgrade opportunities, subscription opportunities that may or may not exist today. And again, 3 years down the road, if they become available, it opens up that opportunity and the flexibility to be able to drive it. So that's maybe a little bit more uncommon.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, for us, there's two things that we look at. We try to always think about the end customer and work backwards from the use cases that make sense. And really in the kitchen, it's easy to overbuild, over-engineer things where you're asking the customer to hop over a lot of fences to ultimately use a connected device. And so it gets in the way of what is otherwise a natural behavioral state. And so for us, what we're trying to do is simplify, simplify, simplify. Whether that's through voice and Alexa and using Alexa to actually control and manipulate devices in the home, or some of actual devices now, like I don't know if any of you have seen the Amazon Basics microwave that we just launched, or are shipping here in November, but we just announced it. But really the purpose of that device, we're not getting into major appliances manufacturing, don't worry, it's really as a reference design for the Alexa Connect kit, which is an end-to-end chipset and cloud connectivity and firmware that we're making available to manufacturers for free, minus the cost of the chipset. But the idea here is, can we simplify for our manufacturer partners the idea of a connected device? And for the end user, as you'll see with the microwave, for example, what we're trying to do is simplify it through presets. So rather than inputting 6 digits on your microwave to cook a pizza, it would be nice, as you'll be able to do with the microwave, for example, to say, Alexa, cook 1 pizza. And so that's the idea, is trying to simplify the interface with appliances in the home.
And Yuri?
So we also really focused on simplifying. I think that's the key. That's what consumers really want from us. But we do it as a startup. We're a little bit smaller compared to Amazon. And therefore, our focus is to integrate with the bigger players in this industry. We're like a platform, and we connect the appliance manufacturers and device manufacturers to the big retailers. And the idea is to do it in a way where it makes it, where it's the easiest and best experience for the consumers. So from the retailer's perspective, we try to bring the same user experience they're used to on their smartphone and computer to the kitchen screens. So consumers would feel comfortable. They feel, if they chose a specific supermarket, they feel they're in the environment and user experience that they're used to from that supermarket. And when it comes to the appliance manufacturers, we try to use whatever resources exist there. Now there is voice support, which is awesome. So we use voice to really create a better user experience. And the touch screens, which are becoming better now. So the idea is, how do we bring everything together to create a good, simple user experience?
So while you're talking about user experience, and that's kind of my background for the last decade or so, really focusing on how consumers experience this and what they really want, what they're interested in. And that's sometimes at odds with commerce, right? Like, people don't necessarily like being sold to if it's done in the wrong way. And, as a poster child, for example, for this, I'll recall that when Google purchased Nest, I think the running joke was, oh great, we're going to get ads on our thermostats now. And so you're kind of fighting that inherent resistance that people have when they feel like they're being sold. So how do you balance that? That's a really thin line to walk. How do you manage that and do this in a way that just frankly isn't annoying? And I'll start with you again, Yuri.
I think, first of all, our starting point is relatively a good starting point, because when you think about groceries, people actually are pretty open, I would say. In many cases, they like getting ads in the grocery space. It's different because when you buy groceries, you want to have choice and you want to be aware of all the discounts. The ads are based on discounts, coupons, and that's something consumers really like. Also, I think you have to differentiate between the pull and the push. When somebody scans a box of a pasta, I think it's going to be pretty positive when you put a carousel in front of him with additional pastas, which are a little bit cheaper. There's a special, 20% off on a pasta which is close enough to the pasta you just want to buy now. That's a good thing for the consumer. When you talk about the push type ads, there I think you have to be very subtle, which we are very careful about that. We test all the time. But I think as long as it looks like coupons, people are pretty open to that.
Okay. Ben?
I was thinking about the words that came to mind. I think it's trust, education, and control. So I think customers have to trust a device as it relates to commerce. The items need to show up on time. They need to be what you ordered, and they need to be priced affordably. I think there's a big selection issue there too. Customers need to know that they have access to what they actually want, and it's if the products don't show up on time, I think there's big problems that the customers, and it's a trust buster. So if we also can't do that affordably, we've got some trust busting going on, and so we've got to stay, from a commerce perspective, we've got to be focused on selection for our customers, and then trust. And so with DRS, what we're doing is we're using the Amazon fulfillment channels, Amazon customer service, Amazon payments, as a way to extend trust to our customers to bring commerce into the kitchen through things like DRS and so forth. There's also the idea of control. So we launched something called the Dash button almost 3 years ago, and what that was largely a test as to whether customers would be willing to modify their behavior to take advantage of replenishment in what could be an easier way for something that we call contextual purchasing. So when you're in the moment, when you're in the pantry, for example, you're in the washroom, you're in the baby room, would it be easier for them to just press a button to reorder something? And what we found was that level of control at the time of need of purchase was something that customers liked. And so there's this element of control, and what we're trying to do now is see, is there the opportunity to take, while still allowing control, to actually automate that process entirely for some products where it makes sense through DRS, but you have to have control in the process. The customer needs to know how replenishment works, and so this education element is really, really important. So how does a device know that it needs to replenish? How does your refrigerator know that you need milk, instead of just trying to force sort of milk down the customer's throat at a time they don't need it? And so there is an education. What you'll see on Amazon is a lot of the manufacturers using DRS are doing educational videos, so they're investing heavily up front to try to educate customers about what smart home means, what replenishment means.
So I have those dash buttons all over my pantry and laundry, and it didn't really occur to me that control was the factor there. But when I think about it, in many cases, I actually use those to replace what I had previously had as subscriptions that just weren't coming at the right time or whatever. They didn't necessarily align with my use. And so that control was a really big piece for me. Okay, well, that's what I learned up here today. Sean?
Relevance is a big one. We have screens in the kitchen. A lot of people have screens in the kitchen, and so there can be this desire to be out there with a lot of advertising. And as Erie pointed out, you've got to be very subtle, and you've got to be very cautious as to what you use and how you reach out to that consumer. I think personalization is a big way, is allowing that consumer to have the choice of what they want to see and what they want to be interacted with. And with that, I think the screens and the technology becomes an enabler, whether it be a screen that's on a device or a screen that's in my pocket, right? Those are all ways in which I think it's important to stay personal with that consumer and allow them to really be in control of what they want to see.
So now, when we talk about the different screens or different storage areas or different devices in your kitchen. Talk about poster children. How long have we been talking about the smart refrigerator? I think it's literally decades now, right? Why? I'm curious. I don't think we're there yet. I don't see any refrigerator that's compelling enough, that is at the right price point, that is doing things in a way that fit into most consumers' lifestyles with the available technology today. I just don't think we're there yet, 20 years later or however long it's been. Are we going to get there? I mean, seriously, how long are we going to still talk about this in a joking fashion while companies spend millions and millions of dollars trying to get it right and failing? This is a question to you primarily, but if anyone else wants to weigh in, please do.
I think maybe Jay does some refrigerators. But anyway, our perspective, and we've been looking at this for the last few years, I think, unfortunately, you cannot force consumers to behave the way you would want them to behave. They have to behave the way they behave usually, and technology has to be smart enough to understand what's going on in that chaotic type behavior of consumers. And if you open a refrigerator and you look at the way people use the refrigerator, it's clear that you need to be really smart. And technology needs to be really, really smart to be able to assess your current inventory. So I think it will take a little bit more of a AI development and sensing together. I think that you should not think about the refrigerator. You should think about the whole kitchen, the whole pantry. And our concept is based on a smart shelf, which we have a patent around. We did some work around, but I think you need to have a really smart shelf and store everything with that smart shelf. And that smart shelf needs to be smart enough to understand your current inventory, and it will take a while. It will take a few years.
Either one of you want to weigh in on that?
You probably have a lot to say on this.
So I mean, at the kitchen, it's about inputs and outputs. I mean, to put it in a very simple form, and the refrigerator is one form of that input and output. Pantry is another one. So it's a much more global type of a problem than just one piece. So there is no silver bullet. As much as we'd like it to like to have one of those silver bullets, it is a much more broader type of a challenge that's there. And so as you get an interconnection across those pieces, and you start to get platforms that create this orchestration of these different companies and different technology that's across the kitchen or across the home, right? Then you can start to get a much better look at what I would consider inventory management and trying to understand that. And that's where I think you come into something that I want to join into and I want to be part of. And at that point, that's where you can start to see the seamlessness of things start to join, and you can start to see behavioral changes at that point, because one singular piece isn't going to change a behavior, but an overall system that works together and orchestrates can. So if you take things with cameras and I understand what your consumption is, and I can add it easily to either my DRS or to my Fresh Hub and help some of my colleagues out here and understand what that consumer used and take that mind share away and make that seamless across the piece, and then take it even a step further to where I can upgrade that appliance. It changes not only commerce in the kitchen, but commerce outside, and why do I want to be part of this connected ecosystem? Why do I want to buy a connected appliance or a connected device? It's because it does great things today, but I'm buying into the fact that it can do great things tomorrow. And that's where I think a lot of the behavioral changes and inventory management and things come into play. So it's not just a one piece, it's really kind of an ecosystem across it.
Okay, so Ben, for you, I want to I know this isn't your area in the business, but I also want to talk about voice a little bit. Can voice play a role here? I know that Amazon's done some, I don't know if you consider them experiments, but offered some services where people can order through voice or reorder through voice, or it seems like there is an opportunity there. I don't know how that would work, and I don't know how ripe that is necessarily.
For commerce specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. So voice is the next thing. Voice is perhaps the most friction-free way of interacting with the smart home, and we see that in the data. We see that in the number of partners who are adopting Alexa APIs. I think we're now at 20,000 individual devices that are Alexa compatible. That's quintupled this year. Started from 4K, I think, this year. Our smart home category on Amazon has grown 95% in terms of selection. And the kitchen is actually one of the main use cases. But voice isn't maybe the only solution. It's one of what I think it was mentioned earlier, important to choice. So some people actually do prefer to push a button. Some people prefer to tap a button. I think some people would prefer automatic delivery in some cases, and some people will prefer voice. But voice is certainly a way that you can now access additional information about replenishment in the home or commerce in the home. So I'll sort of make this up, but you can imagine a not too distant future where you're able to, through voice, understand how much of something is in your pantry or is in your refrigerator, or you're able to understand the expiration dates for some of those foods, or you're able to construct meal plans for the week or specific dietary needs. That's all not too far away, and there's a lot of interaction there. There's a lot of AI that happens in that process, and so voice is going to be really central to keep that process simple, back to the earlier comment about keeping this simple, but to also keep it smart so that it's actually doing what the customer wants at the end of the day.
And we're running in the red now, so we're going to end there. But I have a call to action for everybody here. There's a survey in Slido, and there's one question there, and it is, do you use a voice assistant in the kitchen? And the results in that survey right now are kind of surprising to me. So I hope everybody gets a chance to participate in that, and we see where that lands at the end of the show. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.